Welcome back, viewers. The Indian Test series in Australia is perhaps one of the most talked about in the history of Test face-offs between the two nations. The fifth and the final day of the fourth Test at the Melbourne Cricket Ground came as a setback for the men in blue as they suffered a blow in the batting order, except perhaps the likes of Yashasvi Jaiswal, that kept India in the game till the final moments before a controversial DRS decision led to his dismissal, thereby crushing India's hopes and giving a 2-1 lead to the Aussies in the ongoing Test series. The opinion on social media is divided on whether this was a fair call by the third umpire. Why the controversy? Viewers, because Jaiswal had scored 84 runs when he was dismissed owing to the third umpire's decision. In fact, he was initially found not out by the on-field umpire, but upon review sought by the Australian side, the third umpire cited video evidence to suggest a deflection of Jaiswal's gloves or the bat. What made the opener's case strong, though in the imagination of the fans at least, was that the Snicko technology indicated no edge. Basically, as per the Snicko meter, the ball did not deviate. Shortly after the third umpire's ruling, the Indian audience resorted to chants of cheater, and among experts and fans alike, a new discussion is ignited over the use of technology in cricket. Before we open this up with our experts joining us this evening, here's our captain Rohit Sharma, who's also to a large extent facing the fans' ire for his relatively poor showing this series, reacted to the controversy around Jaiswal's ouster.
Really, I don't know what to make of that because the technology didn't show anything, but with the naked eye, it seemed that he did touch something. So I don't know how the umpires want to use the technology. More often than not, we are the ones falling on the wrong side of it.
All right, so that's pretty much the sentiment of Rohit Sharma. Do remember that his poor showing, at least all of the series so far, has been questioned by many experts as well. Not just his, the performance so far put up by Virat Kohli, the ace batter, is also in question. And in fact, many angry fans have been seeking their removal in the Sydney Test, which is the last and the final test in the ongoing series, which, by the way, viewers, to put this in perspective, is also very important for the Indian side going forward into the finals of the WTC, the World Chess Championship. It is incumbent upon the men in blue to win the last test match against Australia, which is slated to take place in Sydney, else their spot in the World Test Championship final is going to be something that's perhaps going to be left to a dream run. Ayaz Memon, senior sports journalist, joins us on the broadcast. A very good evening to you, sir. So much debate that's taking place with regards to what really happened earlier today. All of that was to an extent put to rest by the admission made, by Rohit Sharma, who said that yes, there was a touch over the bat. But what do you make of the controversy in its entirety, and who do you think is to be blamed really? Is it the batting order, not just Jaiswal, because he really did try to, pull off the game to an extent that we did see it favouring the Indian side, at least, the last few runs, but overall as well? What do you make?
Well, I think the controversy kind of emerged because, we've all got so conditioned to letting technology decide for us decisions, whether it's right or wrong or not. Well, actually, the decision is vested in the umpire and the umpire's interpretation of whether it's, whether you talk of the technology or not. With the on-field umpire gives the decision, sees how based on how he has seen it. And then there is the third umpire, who, if the referral goes to him, he also has to assess the evidence that he sees, and which is what he explained, that yes, there was, technology can sometimes be misleading. It has happened earlier. It's not the first time that, you've not seen any movement on the Snicko. But on the evidence of what he saw, that the deflection is there, that's where he made the decision. And I think when you look at it, it's in a sense been corroborated by what Rohit Sharma said in the post-match press conference, that he also felt that he said that there was a deflection and he felt that the batsman had got a touch. So I think that really is the situation. But the larger debate, of course, for now the technical committee of the ICC to decide is whether one should be, in such cases, depend only on technology or the interpretation by the third umpire or whoever is in charge there.
Okay, very interesting you say that. Atul Vasan, a former Indian cricketer with us on the broadcast as well. Atul, would you go with what Mr. Memon is saying? He's of course backing Rohit Sharma and his conclusion, but then there's also a Sunil Gavaskar who's come out to say very clearly and is in as many words, what's the point of technology if it can't be relied on? And the deviation perhaps could be the result of a late swing.
Not really. I mean, I go with my husband. Once you've opened the bottle and the genie is out, this technology, even the ball tracking, if you see, that also is not very conclusive because it is based on missile technology, and when the ball bounces, whatever is shown is just an idea because different surfaces, what crack, so it's just hypothecation of this, and it's based on missile technology. So when was the last time you saw a missile bounce? So exactly my point. So now this is there, we are halfway house. I think that's why in the game of cricket, it is saying, and Ayaz is an old world guy like me, you never out when you're out. You're only out when the umpire says you're out. That's the ethos of cricket. And I think if the umpire who's seeing it has taken a call, just leave it at that. Because and these are not the reasons we lost, by the way.
Okay, Mr. Memon, before I ask Atul what really are the reasons, I really want an answer on that. But what do you make of the public sentiment at large, this debate that's been sparked off on social media? And I think there's much outpouring also because the on-field umpire did not dismiss Jaiswal, and this was indeed a very crucial inning for the Indian side going into the finals of the WTC, and how this perhaps was one of the biggest deciding factors so far. But do you think this was unfair umpiring by any means? What would you say to fans who are calling it that, or do you think this was self-destruction? I mean, losing 7 wickets for 34 runs needs more explanation than that, don't you think?
Oh, certainly. I think it's a sense of acute disappointment that India couldn't save the match. There was a streak of hope that we may even win the match. Always difficult to score 340 runs on the last day against a very strong team like Australia in their home conditions. So not being able to save the match when it seemed that Pant and Jaiswal had done well enough to see the day through. Remember, the margin of victory for Australia is 184, which is massive. So there is nothing to suggest that, okay, if Jaiswal hadn't been given out, then he would have batted right till the end. There is no way of knowing that. So I think one has to see what the outpouring is, because I think it's actually reflecting, in a sense, the disappointment with the Indian batting more than anything else. Because India lost this match having put themselves into a situation where at one stage when Australia were 90 for 6 the previous day, India were pretty much, had created an environment or an opportunity where they could win the match. And then certainly on the last day, there was an option to go and draw the match. But if you lose 3 wickets for 33 runs, your top order is snuffed out, then it's very difficult to save a match. And then 7 wickets falling in the last session tells you how well Australia played. In batting, in bowling, in fielding, in the captaincy that Pat Cummins displayed, I thought that they were top rating. That's why they won.
Yeah. What would you attribute, Atul, to this poor showing on part of the top batting order, apart from this one partnership that did justice to the game? What explains this? Even for a Reddy, for instance, to have, managed a centurion in the first innings and, having been knocked out for 1.
This happens. You can't expect if you get 100. You can't expect 100 every time, and that is why once people start doing well, they bring this problem onto yourself that more is expected of you. But I think we lost. Where when Jaiswal was batting in the first innings, and that run out. Everybody knows whose mistake it was. Then if you are set and they were batting together, I was seeing that how comfortable Jaiswal was compared to Virat Kohli, and it happens. And not saying that, and Jaiswal is much lower in quality as yet and his body of work than Virat Kohli, by the way. But Virat Kohli was making a mistake. Why couldn't he sacrifice? He could have walked out, and saved Jaiswal because that was a better chance for India. So that this will happen. Then you let the last wicket score 60. India could be chasing 280. It's a different ball game altogether, So then Australia would also be making mistakes, So you create these opportunities in Test cricket. Nitish gave you a chance. You clawed your way back. Bumrah brilliance again helped you. But again, you kept on giving those gaps to them. And Australia is not a team that they'll let you go.
Besides, Bumrah's team has left nothing to chance. The bowling has been splendid through and through. But Atul, would you want to also briefly comment on how questions are being raised on the technology being inaccurate, the fact that a third umpire has possibly cited video evidence, and that is the case. That is supposed to be the final word. But there's also a common saying that everybody follows in cricket, which is how the benefit of doubt goes to the batsman in this case. And if the Snicko did not in fact catch that deviation, it does indeed spark a big debate. And is sure to.
I think you have made your mind that you only going to talk and you're going to find a reason that we lost this match because of unfair
Because so much is being spoken of with regards to
like
inaccuracy around technology, like so on and so forth. And
no.
Yeah.
No. Because of people like you, we got neutral umpires in. And now even in neutral umpires, you're calling unfair umpiring. I thank God you haven't seen when we used to play and we used to go and tour Australia, New Zealand and Pakistan especially. And then you should see those umpiring. And ask Ayaz Menon. This is the fairest you can get. Don't find excuses where they're not. India didn't do
so the Bangladeshi umpire is being unfairly targeted.
Oh, it's the Bangladeshi. I didn't know that because once you said neutral umpires, then it doesn't really matter. He could be from Mars also.
Okay, Mr. Menon, what's your thought on this? This whole technology debate and how it needs to find a better place in current cricket.
No, I think the use of technology is wonderful, but the umpires have a certain locus and a certain position in the sport. Now, either you disrespect it and throw all the umpires out and rely only on technology. If you're going to be disbelieving of any decision taken by the umpire, then why have them? I just wanted to raise the point, a theoretical point, that it happens sometimes, the current fails, the electricity fails. The technology might go on the blink. You might not get the Snicko may not have registered anything. But you would have had the replays to see. What should the decision have been?
No, that's what Atul is pointing out. I mean, gone are those days, when you would actually not think about questioning the third umpire's decision, but that's currently not the time that we're living in, Atul. But, with regards to how all of this is being spoken of, given Jaiswal's dismissal, there's a larger picture that needs to be focused on, and Rohit Sharma has put that into perspective going into the Sydney Test. How crucial do you think that's going to be for India, and how do you see them placed? Because there certainly is a lack of motivation as we speak, and you can sense it coming in from each and every player, even the bowlers to an extent.
See, okay, I'll start by saying that, Rohit and Virat, we are questioning them. Yes, they have to be questioned because, in cricket, even you learn from Australia, even Ricky Ponting got a tap on his shoulder saying that either you declare your succession plan when you're going to retire, otherwise we're going to drop you. You are the best player, but we need to build the team again. So this is this kind of, maturity our cricket doesn't have. I think if I was Rohit Sharma in the state of mind I would not play myself. It's happened in the past when a test captain has dropped himself and there is not eating humble pie. It makes sense because Sarfraz is our test player. You have developed him. He's carrying drinks for how many months now? So what's the point? And let it be. He says because the way he's playing with Rohit Sharma, not saying he's the greatest across all formats if you see, but if he is not in the mind where we can see that Rohit Sharma with his trigger movement, that dismissal in the first inning shows you that he's not in a very good place. So I think, I would respect him.
And in cricket, just like in any other sport, you have good days, you have bad days. Holding it against an athlete is also unfair. At least that's what Atul would say.
Lately, more bad days.
Okay, both bad days. Mr. Menon, the last question to you before we wrap up, and I want to go down to basics, because there are people who are still not very well versed with the idea of, where essentially do technologies like a Snicko or Ultra Edge perhaps come into the game, and at what stage are they consulted? So if you could quickly break down that process for our viewers and then we'll wrap it up.
No, I think technology is a very useful tool. I mean, we've seen that, and technology has also made the game a little more exciting, more watchable, in that sense also made it fairer. But I think ultimately it's also on how the need for having the umpires there cannot be diminished. Yeah. Otherwise, every question should go to the Snicko or Hawkeye. Why have any on-field and third umpire sitting in the third umpire is also watching the replay, which is also part of technology. Let's not forget that.
So when do you go back to, let's say, what the Snicko says? Is it when the third umpire is in doubt?
I think the issue here has been that the third umpire overruled the on-field umpire based on what he saw in the replay, and he did not go by the Snicko. Because he felt that what I've seen is evidence enough. I don't need to rely on the Snicko. That was his interpretation.
So basically, yeah. So
Yeah.
there are four senses in cricket when you first is how the batsman reacts after he's hit the ball or he's not hit the ball. Second thing is your eyes. Third thing is your ears. And then the whole, if you played the game, then you know what is possible. And now technology also. So all the senses have been brought in, and it's these three wise men in the middle because of this luxury given to the players for this going like this. And this is probably, I hate see umpires go hug themselves like this. It is like biggest insult because they said, okay, I was wrong. Again, and if you see this in test matches, it breaks my heart.
Okay, all right. So, two decisions under lens, not to forget the one that KL Rahul in fact pulled off in the first test as well, which has sparked off this parallel debate. But let's just hope that India is able to attain redemption going into the Sydney test. Gentlemen, thank you so much for that very insightful